right, joining me now is Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news, Technocracy.news. Let's talk a little bit more about the Genius Act, but also I got to bring this up real quick. Apparently, look at this, folks. United States, this was dated yesterday, July 17, 2025. United States Army Special Operations Command, duty to warn notification. This message is to inform you of a recent duty to warn notification regarding a potential terrorist threat targeting, listen now, retired senior officials who previously served in the Department of Defense with roles in the Syria, Iraq theater. The current geographic focus of this threat is Florida. Right? Any of you know any retired military people that had any involvement in the wars in Syria and Iraq? I do. While this threat does not directly target active duty personnel, we are issuing this notice to reinforce the importance of vigilance and situation awareness. We encourage all personnel to remain alert to their surroundings, both on and off post, and to report any suspicious activity to appropriate authorities. Now, this is interesting because apparently, according to Sarah Adams, who we've been following, apparently she says today or yesterday, Al-Qaeda leader Hamza bin Laden approved the assassination in November of 2024. It's nice of our government to finally start telling people there's a threat. Oh yeah, and there's been surveillance in Tampa, Florida. Welcome to the party. Folks, why are they waiting till now, July 17th, which was yesterday, today's July 18th, but yesterday, July 17th, to put this out? There are a lot of threats right now going on in this country that are not being talked about. We talk about things so far ahead of the curve, as you know, oftentimes years, but certainly oftentimes weeks and months. And we've been warning about a major terrorist attack coming by Al-Qaeda, and you see what Al-Qaeda/ISIS is doing in Syria, right? But who's talking about the bin Laden boys? Here's another one, July 18th, that's today. New evidence of Obama administration conspiracy to subvert President Trump's 2016 victory in presidency. Tulsi Gabbard put this out today. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, revealed overwhelming evidence that demonstrates how, after President Trump won the 2016 election against Hillary Clinton, President Obama and his national security cabinet members manufactured and politicized intelligence to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President Trump. Well, I thought this was conspiracy. No. Let's see how this all gets dealt with. Now, let's go to this article. DEFCON 1. Technocracy being launched right now by Trump administration. What? Wait a minute, what? Technocracy? How so? Joining me now is Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news, Technocracy.news. Patrick, welcome. Thank you for joining us this Friday evening by phone. Why are you putting DEFCON 1, Technocracy being launched right now by Trump administration, at Technocracy.news? What has happened? Inform our audience, please, Mr. Wood.
Well, number one, the Genius Act is signed into law now. There's two bills behind it, the Clarity Act as well as the Stable Act. The Stable Act has been passed by the House. It's certainly going to be passed by the Senate. The other bill is coming right before it, and it will likely not have any opposition as well. So at this point, these three bills are the tumblers and a lock for stablecoins to be replaced, or to replace the concept of central bank digital currencies. This has been a stunning development in the last 6 months when President Trump first signed an executive order to prevent the Fed from creating central bank digital currencies in the first place. However, the whole process has been privatized at this point, They've passed legislation, thank you to the House and the Senate. They've passed legislation to make it all legal now. They've changed the regulatory structure, if you will, to take care of stable coins outside of the former regulations that were in place. And at this point, this has been a clean sweep of implementing like the equivalent of a central bank digital currency, trackable, enforceable. It's everything that China would ever want to have in their social credit scoring system, I'm sure. But at this point, this is the fait accompli for technocracy.
Now help me understand something though, Patrick, because Yahoo Finance is reporting yesterday that the House passes Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, blocks digital dollar rollout. They say the House of Representatives has officially passed the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act, a sweeping bill designed to block the Federal Reserve from issuing or testing a central bank digital currency without explicit congressional approval. The move signals strong Republican resistance to what they view as a potential tool for state surveillance. So what do you make of this, though?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think this has been a sham from the get-go. Consider this. Who owns the central bank in the first place, the Federal Reserve? Well, it's the major banks. It's like Citicorp, J.P. Morgan, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, et cetera. These are the banks that already control the Fed. Okay, so who's behind all this stablecoin nonsense? It's the same banks. And, you know, whatever they tell you on one hand, we're all against the central bank, the Fed. We don't want the Fed to do this, but we'll do it on a private basis, and it'll be okay. You'll see. I don't buy that at all. This is the sham, I think, from the get-go. And you'll see at some point when all this regulation gets shed against the digital currency on one hand, you'll see another superstructure erected with this new stablecoin behemoth, crypto-based, blockchain-based, whatever. And this is going to be the currency of the future for America. Trump has been very vocal about this, by the way. He says he wants to make America the crypto capital of the world.
So when the bill, which was introduced by Representative Tom Emmer, Republican of Minnesota, prohibits the Fed from directly or indirectly issuing a central bank digital currency to individuals, as outlined in the bill, a Federal Reserve bill, quote, shall not offer products or services directly to an individual, end quote, nor, quote, maintain an account on behalf of an individual, end quote. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I don't know. What are they going to have to change the wording, or is the wording deliberately such that they can get around it? Because it says a Federal Reserve bank, quote, shall not offer products or services directly to an individual, nor maintain an account on behalf of an individual. So I don't. Is that wording going to have to be changed, or is there wiggle room in that wording?
No, this was a threat 2 years ago when we first started to study what the central bank digital currency would do. There was a threat. Well, it was more than a threat. The central bank said what they wanted to do is allow Americans to open an account directly with the Fed, right?
That was called Fed Now. That was called Fed Now, and we showed the big PDF on how, and said everybody's going to go get their own Federal Reserve wallet. And I would say to the audience, how many of you are doing business directly with the Federal Reserve now? How many of you have a Federal Reserve account? None of you have a Federal Reserve account. Your bank does, but you don't. But under Fed Now, you'll have to have a Federal Reserve wallet, this Fed Now. That's what we were talking about then, right?
Yes.
The Fed is prohibitive at this point of opening accounts with consumers, Americans in general. Now that the whole process has been privatized, okay, forget the government, forget the Fed at this point. The whole process has been privatized with this new thing that they're working on, like the crypto czar and the other people in the government that are architecting this new stablecoin system. This is privatized system, has nothing to do with any regulation against the Fed at this point. However, we've seen this in the past where if they're prohibited from doing something in the first place, they hand it off to somebody in the private sector to do it, and then they take it back when it's time. This is exactly what we're going to see in the future. When this system is put together with all its regulations and whatever features it has to track people and everybody in sight, then the whole thing probably will be handed over to the Fed again as the manager. But the Fed will at that point, they say, well, we didn't do it. We didn't do anything about that. You handed this to us to be the managers. We didn't do this in the first place. And so the Fed will escape any liability in that part, and they can be end up in the position of being not the sole, but the controllers of the whole system. And remember, the Federal Reserve is owned by the largest banks in America in the first place. People like banks like J.P. Morgan, Citicorp, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, et cetera. These are the principal shareholders in the Federal Reserve. It's not a government organization at all. We've known this for years. This is not a conspiracy theory, believe me. But these are the people who are in control of this privatized system at this point to create another alternative currency, and it'll be trackable. It'll be used by, for instance, Real ID. It'll be wrapped into all the other financial transactions in the world that we have, like on a stock market and the bank systems, et cetera. And, at that point, well, they're going to have their cake and eat it too. But we'll look back on this a year or two down the road and say, well, no, the Fed didn't do it, but these other banks did. And the Trump administration did. The crypto people and the Trump administration, all these technocrats that were invited in, like the crypto czar, for instance, David Sachs, these people will be viewed as architecting this whole system. And at that point, people will wonder, gee, what happened here? What happened to the long range program that the central bank had in place in the first place? And remember, no other central bank, except I think one or two in the world, has a central bank digital currency at this point. Everybody's in the research mode. They've been in the research mode for at least 5 years at this point. Nobody's cracked the nut. So the technocrats obviously have taken the bull by the horns. Forget the central banks. You guys are a bunch of, clowns. You can't, program your way out of anything. And they've taken over the process to privatize it as if it were a startup in the first place, startup company in the first place. When they're done with it, they're going to hand it back to the Fed and the other central banks around the world, and they say, "You guys manage this for us, but you're not going to claim any responsibility for having done it in the first place."
So this is corporate fascism. Big government, big business. Big government, big business, working in cahoots together, whether it's the CIA that I think helped start Google or any of these other companies. You always see the big government and the big business. And so what you're saying here, and you've articulated, is look for business to be the enforcer for the government. Kind of like we saw during COVID, right? And
yes, exactly.
During COVID, it was a lot of the businesses that were enforcing these things, not the government.
Well, exactly. Case in point, when Fauci et al. Wanted to conduct gain and function research that was patently outlawed in America, they could not do that under penalty of fine and jail and everything else. So what did they do? They farmed it out to China. China's not our jurisdiction at all. So the trail was like this. Well, we didn't do it. You follow the science. We didn't do it, but the Chinese did it. then they claim, well, it was just a stroke of bad luck, whatever, and they perfected what we started. Well, this business of handing off the unpardonable or the unmentionable things that they don't want to deal with to private organizations, at that point, when it's perfected, then it gets handed back to the government entity in the first place.
Now, you linked today at technocracy.news to Crypto Week Exposed, the tokenization tyranny unleashed, reclaiming free will in the face of backdoor CBDCs, biotech, accelerationism, and the technocratic takeover. Okay, these are two hosts that are talking about it. I'm assuming since you've linked to it, you've listened to it. Give me the Cliff Note version. What are they saying? Or did you just tell me what they said?
Well, I'm pretty much, I just talked about it. I've listened to this thing twice already today. It was packed from all sorts of good information. The people that she's interviewing are very sharp people. They're not just conspiracy theories. They're not just buffs, talking from out of their mouth. These are pros in the field, and they understand crypto. They understand finance. They're in the field. They're dedicated their life to the field. So these are not nutcakes, and they understand technocracy. They talk about it incessantly in this video, I have to say. They probably were informed by my writings in the first place. That's my guess, because I've been writing about technocracy for over 18 years now. And but in any case, they get the picture. And they've cracked this business now of privatizing the financial system. They've done it in 6 months. That's just consider that Klaus Schwab couldn't get this done in 10 years. They've done it in 6 months at this point. That's stunning. Now,
here's what you wrote. You said you wrote this on your website. I've warned about technocracy for almost 20 years, including 3 books, thousands from articles on technocracy.com, and countless media interviews. Now it's too late to stop it. We've just passed the point of inflection where technocrats have seized control of the Trump administration. Trump's legacy will go down in history as Trump the technocrat. Yes, he was more than just complicit. He chose J.D. Vance as vice president, an acolyte and creation of arch technocrat Peter Thiel. He appointed these technocrats in the first place who are swarming around Washington, D.C. He signed the enabling executive orders and the legislation like the Big Beautiful Bill and the Genius Act. He's driving the adoption of cryptocurrencies to replace central bank digital currencies and the campaign to get everybody outfitted with wearable tech to collect biometric data. He's brought in AI to run the government through Doge and signed a contract with Palantir to turn all government data into a Sauron-like panopticon. Is that panopticon? Is that what you mean? Panopticon? I know I will get massive pushback from Trump supporters for calling him Trump the technocrat. But it is what it is. Face the music while it is still playing. Americans of all stripes need to join hands to destroy technocracy before it destroys us. Take these videos from others from technocracy.news and sit down with your friends and associates and lead them by the hand. Patrick Wood. There you go.
That's my assessment at this point. It's too late to stop at this point. If there were a mass rebellion across the country, maybe something could be stopped. But at this point, certainly the battle will go local at this point. There'd be no national battle taking place at this point. Maybe on a local basis, you can consider talking to your city council, your leaders, your immediate leaders in your own area, county, city, whatever, to build a firewall for you against all this nonsense. But at this point, we can't stop the technocrats what they're doing. They have all the cards, and so to speak, they hold the Trump card as well.
and this, of course, this is one reason why I'm thankful to be a Christian, because I could look at all this and become so discouraged and angry, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean I become pious. You know, I'm not talking about that, folks. We're not saying, well, look at us, we're so spiritual. None of this impacts us. We're above it all. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's selfish pietism. That never works well. What I'm saying, though, is you can become very concerned to the point of frustration and anger or fear. Doesn't mean you don't be concerned about what was being said. You know, a wise man, a prudent man sees danger, takes refuge, right? But at least as a Christian, I understand, what is God doing? Or I shouldn't say that. What is God allowing, right? The providence of God, the doctrine of confluence, the free will of man and the providential will of God. The free will of man and the providential will of God. They can work together as two streams. In other words, God steps back, says, I'm going to allow for the election of Donald Trump. He's going to pick his VP, J.D. Vance, who came here through Peter Thiel. These guys have this in their heart to do. I'm going to providentially step back and allow them to do this. I've intervened in history. I stopped Adolf Hitler. I stopped a lot of Nero. I stopped a lot of things, Alexander the Great. I brought kingdoms down, and meaning I had someone invade them, or I stepped back and let someone invade them and bring them down. So I've stepped back at times and allowed things to happen, and I've stepped in and stopped certain things providentially. And I think we're at that point where God is providentially stepping back, allowing certain things to happen. He's not the one doing it, because God's not the author of evil or confusion. The book of James tells us that. There's no shadow of darkness in him and his character. But God is now stepping back and allowing these guys to come on the scene and do these things, which I think is setting the stage for Bible prophecy and the beast system to be built. Am I thinking about this the same way you are, Patrick?
I think we probably are thinking exactly the same. When you consider all the evil that's taking place with this beast system at this point, it really is just dark as dark can be. But you have to remember, God is a fair God. Amongst other things, qualities, He's always been fair with us, certainly. But he's also been fair with everybody else in the world. He gives them a chance to accept Christ, and etc. Even the devil is going to have his day in court, right? Where he can fight against God to his heart's content. Then God will crush him completely. But God is being completely fair against for the devil at this point, to allow him to build this system as we see it right before our eyes. And the devil will never be able to lay a charge against God that he was not fair to let the devil have his tools, have his system in place when he finally assumes his role in the 7-year period. We know it's a tribulation. So this is, you look at this way. If you look at this whole system, it's a new light, right? And we're privileged to be in the place to watch it all happen. This is stunning to me that I used to think when I was a young Christian, I wanted to go and I want to live in the day of Jesus when he walked the earth. I wanted to be with him, and I wanted, he washed my feet, and we listen to him. He'd feed us with loaves and fishes, and all those miracles that took place. I tell you what, that's a dream gone by at this point. We live in the most exciting time in history right now as Christians. We should be excited and looking certainly for the return of Christ. But what an opportunity we have at this point to alert others and just tell them what's going on so that they can be excited as well.
That's absolutely right. And today on radio, I was dealing with news stories talking about Babylon, 58 miles south of Baghdad, and all that's going on there with water purification, power plants, the Fa port, billions of dollars in Babylon to make it this major commercial site. And yet that's exactly what Revelation 17 and Revelation 18 talk about, a global world system in Babylon. Right? I'm starting Revelation chapter 18, verse 1 on Sunday night, friends, on our Sunday night church service, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. So it is an exciting time to be watching the Bible come to life and being fulfilled. and the stage being set for those Bible prophecies to come to pass. It is fascinating, and we need to take what's common to the culture and turn it into a pulpit to show the supernatural nature of God's word and ask people about their spiritual condition and what they're putting their hope and trust in. So in closing, Patrick, let me ask you this. I believe people need to be proactive. One way to protect yourselves from all of this digital system, I don't give financial advice, I give financial opinion. I personally believe people should be looking at gold and silver, numismatic, 1933 and older, and getting some of their assets out of the bullseye. How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. If you have assets to do it, that's fine. That's good. In fact, it's a good thing to do. A lot of people, however, don't have any assets at all.
Right.
They're basically flat. And, if that's your condition, don't lose hope. God said he will protect you and give you everything you need in this life.
Yep.
And it doesn't depend on gold and silver, although it's nice to have. I have to say, I wish I had hundreds of ounces of gold right now. But, nevertheless, God said, well, he dresses the lilies of the field,
right,
and he takes care of all the birds of the air. He'll take care of you as well. So
amen.
We're not going to.
Yeah, great way to close. Technocracy.news, you'll find it. There it is, folks, right there. DEFCON 1, Technocracy being launched right now by Trump administration, Technocracy.news. And of course, Patrick Wood and Logan Howse host a show together every Tuesday and Thursday, 11 a.m. Central, right here on Worldview Tube, 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern Standard, Tuesdays and Thursdays with Technocracy.news. Check it out, Technocracy.news. Patrick, have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you, Brannon.
Thank you, Patrick. And folks, we'll be right back after this break. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com.